my name is Kyle and I'm a third year DPT student here for a quick video to address one of the comments I've had from one of my recent videos. I'm going to put it on screen right now from Monzi. If I'm saying that wrong, let me know. But I did want to address this one first because I know that if one person has the question, there's probably a lot of people who have questions about how I kind of took notes throughout DPT school, so I'm going to tell you a bit about it today. Throughout my time in DPT school, I really fluctuated taking my notes in between two different apps. I'll put some information on screen about each of them, and some of it I'm sure has changed since I last used them, since I've been in clinic the past couple months, but at least from what I know, the first thing that I started with was GoodNotes. That was where in all of my day in the life videos, you saw me doing my daily and weekly planners in there and checking off things. It is a very kind of essentials. You can utilize different colors. You can upload PowerPoints to it and do your notes within there. And it was just exactly what I needed at the beginning of PT school. And then a little bit later on, Notability developed this newer feature, at least at the time when I was in PT school, where you have like this sticky note feature that really kind of put it above GoodNotes at that time. However, I do think that GoodNotes has gained that same feature now, but at least at that time I had switched over to Notability for the second half of PT school because I utilized that for some active recall practice that I'll talk about later. And they really have a few more features in terms of like artistic ability on Notability compared to GoodNotes. So I would say that especially because both of them have that sticky note feature now, I would say go with whichever one feels nicer for you, but if you want more kind of artistic freedom and ability to change your pen type and everything, then I would lean towards Notability. If you want bare bones essentials, I would go more towards GoodNotes. And before each lecture would start, I would take the PowerPoint from the instructor and I would upload it into the note-taking app that I was utilizing. And from there, I would really utilize 4 different concepts throughout my note-taking during class. The first of which would be I would put stars, just a big star in like red ink at the top of slides that an instructor would say, this is going to be on the test, or this is a really important piece of information, this is going to be on the MBTE, because that's an emphasized piece of information. So I wanted an easy way to identify it when I was really going through what exactly was the most crucial information throughout a lecture and easily identify it. Then also I would utilize a big question mark in the top corner of slides that I was unsure of a concept, or I had a question that I wanted to follow up with our instructors on during our breaks, because at least how it worked for us, basically every hour of lecture that we had, we would have a 10 to 15 minute break, and then we would do another hour and so on for however long class was for that day. So it provided me that opportunity when those breaks came to be that I could instantly go check where I had the question marks, go up, ask my questions, and get them addressed early on, so that way I could address them and not have them sitting there for a while. Then the third thing that I would do would be when an instructor was going over a figure that was important or something like that that doesn't have text on the slide, and they were making a particular comment about how this was important, or that this is something that you'll see in the real world when you're practicing in clinic, that I would just write in exactly what their comment was, or at least a brief portion of what they were saying, so that way when I was coming back to the figure, I would know exactly what they were talking about when they had mentioned it, and it didn't get lost in translation. Finally, getting to that sticky note feature, whenever I had a time where I wasn't actively taking notes throughout a lecture, I would start creating some of my study material with the nice feature that Notability came out with, and now GoodNotes has as well. That sticky note feature, I'll make sure to put it on screen right now so you can see an example of how it works. But basically what you do is you just go to your slide that you have, you tap on this feature, and you just highlight over whatever you want to hide. And it hides it for you, and the wonderful thing is then if you just tap that sticky note, it will reveal exactly what's under it, and you can tap it again to hide it again. So it saves you so much time creating active recall material because you can just utilize your slides. You don't have to draw anything new. You don't have to create a new document for it or anything like that. You can just create your study material in your notes, and what I would do is I would either create a new slide deck in my note-taking app, or I would favorite those pages that I had those study materials created on, so that way when I came back I could easily access them and just study straight from them. So it was a wonderful feature that came out. Again, I believe that it's on both of the note-taking apps now, and I very much encourage you to use it if you have either of these apps. Now, the other thing that I did, and I want to keep in mind that this might be different for you at your PT school, so just know that this might be unique to my situation, but my instructors provided us learning objectives, especially sometimes very detailed learning objectives of exactly the things that we should focus on and know and what could potentially be on the exam as kind of a study guide. So me and my group really utilized that in our studying to focus in on what was important. So as I was following along with the lectures on my iPad and doing those small little notes along the way in the lecture slides, I would also have my computer up with the learning objectives, so that way whenever I wasn't doing those quick notes in there, I would be typing in the information under each learning objective, so that way I had it all consolidated into one spot as kind of a study guide as I was going along the way. And the wonderful thing about that is it helps me stay engaged with the lecture because I was constantly doing something. Either I was making notes on my iPad, or I was typing in information from the lecture notes or from what the instructor was saying as I was doing that, and then I would have study material afterwards that my friends and I utilized a kind of red, yellow, green system, which it's very self-explanatory. For each learning objective, we would either color it red, yellow, or green. Red meant that we were not confident on the subject or concept whatsoever, that it had only been our first run through or something like that. Yellow would be we've gone through it a couple times, we're starting to gain a good understanding of it, but we still have some questions to ask the instructor about or to ask our other study group members about. And then green would be when we felt confident on the concept enough that we could be like, okay, we're going to study this a little bit less right now. I'm going to focus more on the yellow and red items. So that way it was really easy to prioritize exactly where we were putting our studying. And of course, if I was all caught up in all of those things on my iPad or in the learning objectives, I would also just start creating some flashcards during the lecture, so that way I could stay engaged with exactly what was happening in class while preparing myself for the time after class, so that as soon as I get out, I could actually start studying the material rather than just creating the material. So I really tried to be as efficient with my time as possible, because we know, especially in graduate school, for those of you who are in PT school, that time is very valuable. So the more that you can do in class while also staying engaged is the best. But with that, that's essentially how I took notes when I was going throughout PT school. If you still have further questions about the methods that I mentioned, or want to know a bit more about how I studied for PT school, feel free to let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make another video to address those things and tell you guys exactly how I made it all the way through PT school, since I will be graduating at the end of this week, so I am so excited for that. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe down below. Also, feel free to check out my link in the description for 20% off a Picmonic subscription. Utilize their 5-day free trial to see if it's right for you. Also, check out the rest of my channel for other day in the life content, videos regarding the MPTE, stereotype videos, and so much more, especially if you guys continue to comment down below what you would like to see. I will make sure to look out for them and add them to my list of videos. But thank you all so much for watching. This has been KBDPT, and I'll see you all in the next video.